and welcome to Let's Make Lunch. My name is Carrie and I'm the Youth Services Librarian at McMillan Memorial Library in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. And tonight we are going to be making pizza pull-apart bread, or as some may know it, pizza monkey bread. So I've got our ingredients set out here. This is a super easy recipe. You can put in different combinations to your liking. So we're going to start with the ingredients that I'm using tonight. Most monkey bread recipes use the canned dough, the biscuit dough. Since it's pizza monkey bread, I decided to go with pizza dough. So this is homemade pizza dough. I had some in the freezer, so I pulled that out. And this is one batch. I've got half of it here and another half here. And so I've got pizza dough. You can use the canned biscuit dough if you would rather do that, or you can use pizza dough from the grocery store. You can make your own, whatever you want to do. You want to make sure that you're cutting it into about 1-inch pieces. If you're using the biscuit dough, you're just going to quarter each of those biscuits. So you'll want 2 cans of biscuit dough if you're using that. And you'll need about over a pound, just over a pound of pizza dough if you're going to be making it that way. We also have a couple of tablespoons of olive oil mixed with some garlic powder in this bowl. We have a can of tomato paste in this bowl, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make my own pizza sauce. I like the flavor of my own pizza sauce, so we're going to make that in a minute. We have some garlic, what is this called? We have some garlic granules there and some Italian seasoning. We also have, I'm going to add a little bit of onion and some yellow pepper. You want to add not a lot of any ingredient that has a lot of water in it, like these vegetables, because that'll just make everything kind of mushy, and you don't want that in your monkey bread. I have got about 3 ounces of pepperoni that I've quartered. You can also get those really tiny, cute little pepperoni if you want to do that. I didn't, so I just cut mine up. You want them a little bit small so they get throughout the entire pizza bread. And then I've got 3 cups of, this is this Italian style cheese. So it's a combination of mozzarella and provolone and Asiago and Parmesan. You can do it this way, or you can use just shredded mozzarella. You can add a little Parmesan if you want to. Kind of mix it up, whatever you want. You can even probably put some cheddar in there if you'd like. So we've also got a bundt pan, which is what we're going to be cooking this in. And I've got my oven set to 350. It's preheating right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to finish cutting our pizza dough and getting that into, this is a bowl that's been oiled with olive oil. So we're just going to finish cutting these. Pretty easy, really. Really, you can add whatever pizza toppings you would normally have on a regular pizza. So if you really like sausage and you don't like pepperoni, throw the sausage in, not a problem. If you really like just veggie or just cheese, you could even go that route if you want. It's more of a cheese bread, but when you dip it into the marinara sauce, it tastes like pizza. If you wanted to, some people like to dip, I know my brother's one of them, some people like to dip their pizza in ranch dressing. You could use that as a dip, alternative dip if you would like. Also, if you want to just do maybe some garlic butter, you could also use that as a dip after the pizza bread is finished cooking. So we are almost done getting our dough cut into about 1-inch chunks. We're going to add all of that into the bowl. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to make my sauce. So I've got, like I said, 1 can of tomato paste in my bowl. And I'm not going to measure this necessarily, but I'm just going to use my hand. So the inside part of your hand, if you make it into a cup, that's about a teaspoon. It holds about a teaspoon. So I'm going to drop that in. That's the Italian herb mix. And then we also have some garlic granulated garlic. And I'm going to do not quite as much. Garlic is pretty strong, and there's already some other garlic that will be going in this recipe later. I'm going to take this, I'm just going to add a little bit of water. So when I add the water, I add it a little at a time, because you can always add more, but you can't take it out. And I stir it until all the paste has been mixed in with the water, and I get an idea of how what the consistency is. So is it too runny, or is it not runny enough? And this looks pretty good on the first try. I've been doing this a little while. So there we are. I've got a pretty good consistency of sauce, and I am ready to go with the rest of this now. So I've got my dough in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of the Italian herb mix. Again, about a teaspoon. I'm going to add that right to the bowl with the dough. We're going to add some more garlic, because you can't have too much garlic, right? About the same amount again. Actual amounts for the seasoning, they're, wishy-washy. We're also going to add our pepperoni. We're going to add our veggies, the onion and the pepper. There was probably about a 1/4 cup of those two mixed together, and I cut them fairly small so they mix a little bit better into the rest of the mixture. And then I'm going to add all of my cheese. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of cheese. All right, here we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, and I may just actually get in here with my hands. I think it's going to be easier. I'm just going to mix this all together until everything is kind of all mixed up. You want to kind of pull apart your bread or your dough a little bit so it's not all clumped up. And you want to make sure that you have a little bit of pepperoni and a little bit of your veggies or whatever other toppings you have in there. You want them kind of all mixed together nicely so that you see a little bit in each bite when you're eating it. We're just going to pull these. The dough likes to stick to each other, so we're just making sure we kind of pull those apart as we go along. And the cheese will kind of help the dough to unstick as well as while we stir that in a little bit. The cheese kind of acts almost like a flour, and it's going to stick to the pieces of dough and not allow them to stick to each other as much. So I think we have things pretty well mixed in. Now, here's the moment of decision. You can put it in your pan this way, or if you want to add a little sauce to this, you could do that, or you can just simply use the sauce as a dipping sauce. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit, like 2 or 3 spoonfuls of sauce in, because I like my pizza very saucy. And we're just going to mix that together. You don't want too much sauce in this, just not more than a 1/4 cup, because you don't want it to be too mushy. The pizza monkey bread is more of a dry type of mixture, so you don't want it to be, like I said, too wet, have too much moisture in there. So I'm just going to kind of mix that in until it's pretty well done. And I have pizza fingers. Oh no. It's a danger of the job. All right, I'm just going to rinse these hands off really quickly. But Carrie, if you rinse your hands off, how will you cook with no hands? That was a really bad joke. Feel free to not laugh. All right, so we're going to prepare our pan for baking. So this is a bundt pan. You can definitely use a bundt pan if you don't have a bundt pan. Not everyone does. You can also use a 9 by 13 pan. If you use the 9x13 pan, you're going to cook this for a shorter period of time. So in the bundt pan, we're going to cook it about 30 to 35 minutes. If you are using a 9x13 pan, because it's going to be a more shallow pan, you would cook that for about 15 to 20 minutes. And that will be in the recipe that I will include in the comments, or in the description, I should say. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this garlic or olive oil mixture, and we're just going to brush that all over the inside of our bundt pan to make sure we don't get anything to stick to it, because that's not fun when you have this beautiful pizza bread and it doesn't come out of the pan. That's no good. All right. And it's nice because it's got that garlic in there, so it gives it a little bit of flavor, extra flavor. And sometimes I'll do that even when I'm just making pizza. If I'm making a pizza from scratch, I will add a little garlic to the dough before I cook it. Just gives it a little bit extra flavor, little boost. So we're going to just finish putting this all around the inside of our pan. And if you're using a 9x13 pan, then certainly you would do the same thing. You would want it to not stick to your 9x13 pan either. So you're going to use about half of this olive oil and garlic mixture, and the rest we're going to brush on the top once we get our dough into the pan. So we are all the way around the inside of our pan now. All right, I'm just going to put that down. Now it's time to put our dough and all the other goodies into our pan. So kind of carefully, you may want to turn your pan a little bit now and then. Don't want it all to fall out at the same time, so trying to keep it a little bit together here. Wow. There's going to be an avalanche of dough and cheese and fillings. All right. We're going to have to move this around a little bit in the pan because it's not quite even, but that's okay. We can move it before we get it into the oven. So, all right. So we've got everything in our pan, and we're just going to make sure that all of our goodies inside the pan are where they need to be. Make sure they're kind of spread evenly around the outside of the edge of the pan. Don't want it to be deeper on one side than another, otherwise it will not cook evenly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of our olive oil and garlic mix, and we're just going to brush that over the top part. Doesn't matter if your cheese sticks a little bit to your brush, that's fine. Just going to put that over the rest, or over the top of your mixture. Give it a little bit more garlic. Hope you don't have plans after you eat this. All right. So I think we're about ready to put it in. So our next step is going to put it into our oven. Like I said, our oven is preheated to 350 degrees. So it's a pretty low oven. And we're going to put that in for about 30 to 35 minutes. It should be kind of browned. The cheese should be melty, and the cheese on top should be browned. And it should be dry throughout. There shouldn't be any doughiness on the inside. So we're going to get that in our oven, and we will check on that in about a half hour. That is the sound of the oven telling me that our pizza pull-apart bread is done. So we are going to carefully take this out of the oven using our oven mitts, both hands. I'm going to put it right on top of our stovetop right now, since that's cool. Yeah, it's bubbling away. It's looking really nice and And gooey and delicious, and this browned around the edges. I think this is perfect. We're going to need to let this cool for about 5 minutes before we try and take that out of the pan. Also, I just wanted to let you know that when you're baking this, kind of check on it about halfway through or about a little bit more than halfway through. And if the top is starting to get really brown, you can always put a sheet of aluminum foil over the top and let it cook the rest of the way. That'll keep it from browning more on top, but it'll let the rest of it cook the rest of the way through. So we're going to let this cool for a few minutes, and we'll be back to get it out of the pan. Our pull-apart pizza bread, I keep on calling it weird things, has been sitting for about 5 minutes now. And here it is in the pan. My pan is one of those ones that you can push the middle part out. Let's see if I can do this without... There we go. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put this in the sink. It's kind of greasy. And then what we're going to do is, this is actually pretty cool right now. This part, the bottom is not going to be cool. And what I did was I loosened it from the pan with, I've got some wooden utensils. Because my pan is non-stick, I didn't want to use anything that would scratch it. So we've turned out our pizza dough, and it's kind of upside down, isn't it? Let me see if I can get that right side up here really quick. Just gonna grab a spatula. And there we are. So you see all the individual pieces of dough. That is what we're going to use to pull apart our pizza bread. Just like so. And you see it's cheesy, and there's a piece of pepperoni, and you can dip it into some sauce, ranch dressing, garlic butter, whatever you like. And you can eat this as a snack. It's great to have for picnics or get-togethers. If you're watching a football game or something, you can also eat it then. Yeah, pretty much anytime. It's good for lunch, it's good for dinner, it's good for a snack. So enjoy, and we will remember that the recipe will be in the description. And enjoy this recipe, and we will see you back here next time for another Let's Make Lunch. Mmm.